FDP. For this session, we have Professor Devadatta Mishra sir, who is the coordinator of this 5 days online FDP. He is a professor in Department of Production Engineering, PSSUT Burla, and currently he is the Dean, Student Affairs. He has more than 30 years of teaching and research experience in the field of robotics, FMS, virtual manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. So we are fortunate to have him as the inaugural speaker, and he will be delivering on AI/ML and introductory journey. So I welcome sir to this session.
Thank you, Dr. Mahapatra. Let me share the screen. Good morning, all of you present online. Am I audible? Check. You are audible.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir. Thank you.
So, again, a warm welcome to the inaugural session of, not the inaugural session, in fact, the first session of the FDP. So, here my objective is that I would introduce you the different methods, different concepts, different algorithms of AI and ML. Okay. So this is be mostly the most fundamental things, so that with this basic knowledge or basic idea, you'll be able to understand the application part and the programming part, and the real concept behind this, that I will deal with all those things. Artificial intelligence or machine learning, this is not a new word to all of you. Since many years you hear such thing, but what are these things? Mostly, as far as I understand, this depends upon the data available, the information available, some statistical formula or statistical concept, and some mathematical concept, and finally we arrive at a solution. Okay, that is what the job of the artificial intelligence and machine learning. So in broad term, we can say they use the data to offer solution to different problems, and it is having a process loop as shown in the screen. You can see that observe, plan, optimize, take the action, learn and adapt. Observe means you have to observe the, or you have to identify the pattern of the data, those you have collected, those have been collected. And planning means this is finding all possible solutions. Out of those possible solutions, you have to take a solution which is optimized one. That is called the optimization phase, you can say. And after optimization, you can execute the action. It can be the execution is called the action. And this learn and adapt, this comes after this action. Here, if you equate the expected result, and if you are not getting, then do not adapt, or you can reiterate the things. You can go for another iteration. Okay. And for this, you need mostly the intelligent agents. So intelligent agents required to achieve this AI process. Now, what are these intelligent agents? Here you can see the environment is there. From the environment, we collect data, we perceive something through the sensors, by use of sensors. Okay. And by use of effectors, you carry forward the action and again back to the environment. Okay. So the AI process loop discussed, uses these intelligent agents. Now, for example, a robotic intelligent agent, this can be defined as a component which can perceive the environment through different kinds of sensors. The sensors can be cameras, infrared, then sound sensors, light sensors. All these sensors can be used to perceive the environment, and it will take action within the environment through their efforts. The robotic agents here you can say they are designed to reflect the humans. We have different sensory organs. We have different sensory organs such as our eyes, ears, noses, tongues, and skin to perceive our environment. Similarly, we are having the uh, sensors in a or in a robotic system. And when we sense something, we act immediately. And our actions are through hands, legs, and mouths. So those are the effectors. The similar kind of thing happens in robotics. And that enable us to take action within the environment based on this perception. Based on this perception. So basic concept over here is that we study the environment, perceive something, or record something through the sensors, and through this intelligence, through our intelligence, and we react to that. We react to that. Hmm. That is what the basic concept of the artificial intelligence or intelligent agents. What are the, for example, this is an example you can say. The agent type is a taxi driver. I can say the taxi driver, robotic intelligent agent, will need to know its location, the direction in which it is traveling, the speed at which it is traveling, and what else on the road, any sort of humps or hurdles are there in the road, must know. This information can be obtained from the percepts such as controllable camera in appropriate places, the speedometer, odometer, and accelerometer. These are the sensors. For understanding the mechanical state of the vehicle, it needs the electrical system sensors. In addition, what happens is satellite global positioning. Nowadays, the modern cars are fitted with the GPS or the global positioning system, which helps to provide the accurate position information with respect to an electronic map and infrared sensors to detect the distance to other cars and obstacles around it. Now, the modern cars are fitted with all these sensors. Accordingly, they can work. So, this example of the intelligence agent. The action available to the intelligent taxi driver agents are the control over engine through the pedal, accelerating, braking, steering for controlling the direction. Okay, so there should also be a way to interact to talk to the passenger to understand the destination or goal. So here the intelligent agent is a taxi driver. There's the goal and the environment is defined like this: road traffic signal, perception is speedometer, microphone, all those things, and actions to steer, accelerate, or brake. Okay, so these are the common example of an intelligent agent. Mhm. And this intelligence comes from the various data acquired through all the sensors. Okay. Now, the different areas of artificial intelligence are like this. It's like, I mean, there are many misconceptions like that. What is artificial intelligence? Machine learning, same thing. No, machine learning is a subset of this artificial intelligence, and again, deep learning is a subset of this machine learning. You can say. So, machine learning is this artificial intelligence. This area consists of uh, seven, mostly seven areas. That is machine learning, robotics, natural language processing, expert systems, speech, vision, planning, and scheduling. Okay. Now, if you remember that there is a Turing machine, okay, that Alan Turing, the well-known computer scientist, proposed a test known as Turing test. Okay, this test was designed to provide a satisfactory operational definition of intelligence, which required that a human being should not be able to distinguish the machine from another human being by using the replies to the questions put to the both. Okay. So to be able to pass this Turing test, the computer should possess the following capabilities. Many people compare this human being, human knowledge with the computer knowledge. Okay. You can give some input to the computer and make it intelligent, provided it is having all these knowledge on all these areas written over here. There is machine learning, robotics, and all those things. So natural language processing, this is to be able to communicate successfully in a given language or in a chosen language. The computer should be able to have this property to be intelligent artificially. Knowledge representation to store information provided before or during the interrogation that can help finding information, making decisions, and planning. And this is called the expert system. This is the expert system, and this should be able to represent, store information, and answer whenever required. Automated reasoning or this is speech to use the stored knowledge map information to answer questions and to draw new conclusions where these are required. These are the speech. Machine learning analyzing the data to detect and explore patterns that will help to adapt under new circumstances. So this is the machine learning. Computer vision to perceive objects of the analyzing image to find features of the images. Robotic devices, as I told, the robotic agents, robotic devices that can manipulate and interact with the environment. This can interact or this can take action. Okay, that means to move the object around based on the circumstances. Then planning, scheduling, and optimization means figuring ways to make decision plans or achieve the specified goal as well as analyzing the performance of the plans and designs. Planning, scheduling, optimization after gaining some knowledge. The knowledge are through all these expert systems, robotics, and all these things. If you learn knowledge, then you can execute that. If you combine all these things, this becomes the artificial intelligence. So these are called the capability areas, and these above mentioned 7 capability areas of artificial intelligence have seen a great deal of research and growth over the years. Although many of these terms in these areas are used interchangeably, we can use or you can see from the description that their objectives are different. Particularly, machine learning has seen a scope to cut across in all the 7 areas. Now, this is the evaluation, and in this evaluation, you can see these are the just a minute. Started with the past, current, and future. In the past, we were having artificial narrow intelligence. Here only the machine intelligence that equals or exceeds human intelligence for a specific task. This was the task based. Okay, and for this is only for that particular task it was intelligent, but not for everything and not for any other task. Now, in the second case, in the current what we are having now, this is the ability to apply intelligence to a problem area, not only a task, several tasks having the same problem area. This is a present artificial general intelligence or AGI. Now, in future, what we are going to get is the artificial super intelligence. That is an intellect that is much smarter than the best human brains in practically every field of general wisdom, social skill, and all those things. Okay. Now, the key theme over here is don't model the world, model the mind. So, this is one step ahead for what we are having. We can give intelligence. So, there are several key areas, and after getting the intelligence, we are now working on a particular area, but this will be a global area in the artificial super intelligence. Now, what is data? To have this either machine learning or artificial intelligence, we need data. Okay. And these data are mostly through we collect through different sources and we talk it in different terms. Now everybody if you have something what you are doing, I am doing data science, I am doing data analytics and all those things like that. But if you see there is a minor difference, there is a marginal difference between all these things. Now, what are the different forms of this data, or how do we use this data that we have collected? One is statistics. This is a very old theory, old subject, but very powerful subject. It is study of the collection, analysis, interpretation, presentation, and organization of data. And then through this analysis and interpretation, we draw inferences. Okay, you're well aware about the statistics. What is data mining? It is a computational process of discovering patterns in large data sets. Okay, and there are many methods and many algorithms which involve artificial intelligence, machine learning, and other database systems. Data analytics. Data analytics is the process of inspecting, cleaning, transforming, and modeling data. This is one step ahead than the data mining. And this also, this data analytics, this discovers useful information and suggests you the conclusion. Means some predictive analysis is given or predictive subjects suggestions are given through this data analytics. Now, data and science, this generally this uh, covers all the concepts. This interdisciplinary field about processes and systems, and the modeling the processes and systems to extract knowledge and suggest different analysis or the predictive analytics similar to the knowledge discovery in database. From this can collect data from the large databases. Okay. This is how we use the data. So what we are discussing is that the what is how can you make intelligent artificial intelligence and this through data, and these are the different form of use of data. Let's see the business analytics. Okay. Now here see this form of use of data. Now there is another term that is the business analytics. If you see the sophistication versus value, the data starts with descriptive analysis, okay, then diagnostic analysis, and this is start the first is the hindsight, and at the last year we're doing the foresight or the predictive analytics, and then you prescribe or the optimization part and the optimization part. So what is this descriptive analysis or descriptive analytics? Any activity or method that helps us to describe or summarize raw data that you have collected into something which can be interpreted by human and can be termed as this can be termed as the descriptive data. Okay, so these are useful because they allow us to learn from the past behavior and understand how they might influence future outcomes. These are the raw data, collection of raw data and all those things, and these are the descriptive in nature, or these are called the descriptive data, or the raw data. They are the descriptive analysis. Now, what happened here? This is the actually the statistics of such an arithmetic something such as arithmetic operations of count, mean, max, sum, average, percentage, and percentage change, etc. fall in this category. This is the basic statistical measures. Okay. The common example you can say are a company's business report that covers the different aspect of the organization to provide historical hindsight or historical and regarding the company's production, operations, sales, revenue, finance, inventory, customers, and so many things. These are the description. After you get this description, then you go for the diagnostic analysis or diagnostic analytics. Okay. Now, it is the next stage in business analytics, uh, which examines the data and information to answer the question that why did it happen? Because after this descriptive analytics, you analyze something, then you diagnose. Okay. So while you diagnosing, you ask why did it happen, and it is characterized by techniques such as data discovery, data mining, correlations, and all those things, the statistical things. So it basically provides a very good understanding of limited piece of the problem you want to solve. This is the diagnostic stage. Okay. But this is very laborious work. This is very hard work for human intervention, and you need some computing skill with the computer to go for this analysis. So once you diagnose something, then you go for the predictive analysis, which forecast and model um, predictions using the machine learning. Okay. So in predictive analytics, uh, it is the ability to make predictions or estimations of likelihood about unknown future events that you do not know. Okay, and you learn it from the pattern, from history of the pattern. And this will give the insight that is written there, what will happen. Means why did happen? Now what will happen? You need a prediction. Okay, what might happen. And there are many techniques are used to the data mining, statistics, modeling, machine learning and AI to analyze current data to make predictions about the future. Now, one thing you must remember, it is important to remember that the foundation of predictive analysis is based on probability or the probability theory. Okay. And hence, when this is probability, this is depending upon the quality of data, what are the data you have collected. Hence, this algorithm cannot predict the future with 100% certainty because we do not know about the quality of data. If the data are 100% correct, then possibly 100% prediction can be done, which is nearly impossible. However, companies can use this statistic to forecast. You can also forecast the probability of what might happen in the future. And considering these results alongside business knowledge would result in some advantageous or profitable decisions. Okay. Now, machine learning is heavily focused on predictive analysis. Machine learning or AI mostly these are used for this predictive analysis, where generally we combine historical data from different sources of an organization through ERP or through customer relation management, a point of sales, employee data, market research. We identify the pattern and apply statistical model algorithm to capture the relationship between various data sets and further predict the likelihood of an event. Okay. You can have some example of this predictive analysis are, you can say, the weather forecasting, email email spam identification, fraud detection, and so many things. Okay. Another aspect is the last one is the optimization stage, that is the perspective analysis. Now it is the area of data or business analytics dedicated to finding the best course of action, okay, for a given situation. It's the optimization. It is related to the other three forms like predictive, diagnostic, and descriptive. That uh, the endeavor of this prescriptive analysis is to measure the future decisions effort to enable the decision maker to foresee a possible outcome before the actual decisions are made. And these are, you can say, some combination of business rules, machine learning algorithms, and tools that can be applied. Again, historical data or real-time data can also be used. Okay. So these are how the business analytics that we depend on. Understand. Okay. Another thing is that uh, big data. You ask this big data, deep learning, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and so many things. But what actually is the big data? Big data is depends upon these three V's. V's means the velocity, volume, and variety. Data and data velocity of data, then variety of data and volume of data. The larger the volume data you collect, your prediction will be much more accurate. Then velocity of data at a rate, the rate of collection of data, rate of use of data, that is, or this is the interval of data that you collect, or the real-time data you collect, the velocity of data. Then variety of data, you've got different sources or different, you may have text data, you may have numerical data, you may have video, you may have photographs like this, that a variety of data. Now, when all these are combined together to draw a pattern and or for prediction, then or for the prescriptive analytics or for the diagnostic analytics, this is called a big data or a big data system. Next, you can see what is data science. You can see these are the intersection of mathematical and statistical knowledge, as I was telling earlier, some hacking skill, and substantive expertise means expertise in the required field. The expertise in the required field. And the intersection of all these three is called the data science. Okay. And when you take the intersection of this mathematical knowledge, statistics, and skills, this becomes the machine learning, the traditional research, and the danger zone is that you only know the hacking skills and the substantive expertise. Our focus will be based on the data science and the machine learning, how this data can be effectively used to draw conclusions. These are the evolution of data. From the started from 1662 up to 2008, we coined the word data science. Frequent test means depending upon the frequency. Then came the Bayesian statistics. The probability was important factor. Then the regression analysis. Then started the machine learning and data mining, all these areas. Then the data analytics comprising of all these business analytics. And now we are in the phase of the data science where there is we require mathematical and statistical knowledge, the skills, and the subject expertise. That is why the data science is quite important now. That are many people are talking about this data science. And when you combine all forms of this together, this ultimately leads to the artificial intelligence. Robotics is there, data science, data analysis, data mining, natural language processing, big data analysis, combined with the intelligence of the analysis, various automated reasoning, deep learning, and expert system. When it comes on all these things, this gives rise to the artificial intelligence. Okay. Now, now we'll discuss about the machine learning. Okay. What is this machine learning? Machine learning is a collection of algorithms and techniques, and these are used to create computational systems that learn from the data. Okay, why to learn? In order to make prediction and inference. Okay. Now, the common thing you experience in your daily life, okay, like YouTube, Amazon, like that. Okay. But so what happens in YouTube? You search something, you listen to a song, you saw a video, then immediately you will find several recommendations related to that. Means you are interested in that particular area. No, who is doing that? There are some people who are collecting data that you are interested in watching these videos. This is recorded. They learn about the different techniques or algorithms which learn from this data, and they suggest you that this particular gentleman is interested for this particular watching these particular videos or particular songs or particular movies like that that you can see from the YouTube. Similarly, you must have experienced most of the 99% must have used the Amazon platform. What happens is you search for something, then immediately it will suggest similar thing out of out of its large database. And this this is really beneficial. Why this is beneficial? Suppose you ask for some product, and in its database, it will be having some millions of products like that. So out of this, it will truncate the product you need. Suppose you ask for a computer, you give the configuration of this, give the specifications for that. Okay, and it will show you the other computers having different brands. You cannot visit individual brands, so it will show you different brands having the similar configuration or the same configuration. It will suggest you. So what it is doing? It is taking your data, it is analyzing your data, and it understands your interest, and it makes the predictions or making the inference. Similarly, some spam detection. So in the spam detection, it detects that when this comes from some unknown or awkward or unusual sender, then this is taken as a spam. So this has been also been trained. Okay. So these are the different learning process of the machine learning. The machine learning, this is consisting of is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforced learning. Okay. So now in supervised learning, or again the supervised learning consists of this regression and classification. This is unsupervised learning consists of clustering, dimension reduction, and anomaly detection. Okay. And reinforced learning, this deals with the Markov decision process. And these are the algorithms learns to react to environment. Okay. And mostly the second one, non-supervised learning, is descriptive and data driven. Supervised learning is inferential or event driven. These are the basic classification, basic types of the machine learning. Okay. Now, what happens in the uh, supervised learning? In fact, the supervised learning involves building a machine learning model which is based on labeled samples. Okay, those are, for example, if you say what is the labeled sample, if you build a system to estimate, let us say the price of a land, a piece of land, or price of a house on various features, it can be the size, it can be the location, and so on. Okay, what we have to do? We first need to create a database and label it. We have to try to label the data. We need to teach that the algorithm what features correspond to what prices. For example, how the location is this much. I need a 2 BHK or 3 BHK, and accordingly what should be the cost. So we give the training to the algorithm. Okay. Based on this data, what will the algorithm will do? How to calculate the price of real estate using the values of this input feature. This is called supervised learning when we provide labeled data, or that is having prior knowledge. Okay. So this is trained on labeled data. Even though the data needs to be labeled accurately for this method to work, this is extremely powerful when used at the right places, at the right circumstances. So what happens in supervised learning? The ML algorithm is given a small training data set to work with. It starts with a training data set, and this training data set is a smaller part of the bigger data set. Okay, all the data is not used for training, and serve to gives the algorithm a basic idea of the problem. It means there are two data set. One is generally the training data and the actual data. The algorithm, in the supervised learning, when the algorithms are used, the algorithm generally finds relationship between the given parameter by establishing a cause and effect relationship between the variables and the data set. This is obvious, a cause, and if this happens, then what will happen? Okay. At the end of the training, what the algorithm has got an idea how the data works and the relationship between the input and the output. This is what is a supervised learning. Now, contrary to this, what is unsupervised learning? This no, there is we move with the concept of by taking that uh, that supervised learning use the label data. Okay. For this supervised learning can be classified in two types, that is regression and classification. What is regression? Regression trains on and predicts on continuous value response. Okay. Continuous value response, we write an equation from the data point we fit a line or the regression lines, and this is a continuous value response. Classification means this attempts to find the appropriate class level, such as analyzing positive and negative sentiments, male and female persons, benign and malignant tumors, and all the secured and unsecured loans like this. Okay. So these are the different forms or different types of this supervised learning, or this is the okay. Now this is used in level data, as I have already told. This. Now I'll see what is unsupervised learning. Okay. So unsupervised learning, now unlike the supervised one, they work on the on-level data. Okay. Now this holds the advantage of being able to work with on-level data. Now this means that the human level is not required to make the data set machine readable, allowing much larger data sets to be worked only by the program. So here there is no leveling of data. Yeah. Now in this case, the unsupervised learning, in the case of this unsupervised learning, and this results in creation of some hidden structure, and the relationship between data points are perceived by the algorithm in an abstract manner with no input required from the human beings. So because of this hidden data set or hidden layer, they can infer the um, required result in an abstract manner. Yeah. And the creation of the hidden structure is important here. The hidden structure is what makes unsupervised learning algorithm versatile. Instead of a defined and set up problem statement, unsupervised learning algorithms can, this is the advantage, can adapt to the data by dynamically changing the hidden structure. This offers more post-development development than supervised learning algorithm. So these are the powerful tools for analyzing data, and the data are not labeled. And if you ask for the supervised means this is just trained data or the labeled data. But in this case, the data used is not labeled, or these are unlabeled. And these are the different types of this unsupervised learning: clustering, dimension reduction, and anomaly detection. What is clustering? Clustering means the similar class are to be uh, placed at one cluster. Okay. The goal here is to divide the input data into logical groups of related items, grouping similar news articles, grouping similar customer based on their profile, and all those things. These are the, or simply you can say you cluster the data having similar property or similar features. That is what we cluster this one. Okay. And dimension reduction means this is reducing the or simplifying a large data set, because data are very important. The data are very important in case of this machine learning or the artificial intelligence. Now you reduce a large data set by mapping them to a lower dimensional space. So we do not require larger data space, and we require only a smaller part of that one. We reduce that by removing unnecessary data, by deleting unnecessary data. Okay. So this unsupervised reduces this another dimension reduction of the large data set can be converted to or mapped into a lower dimensional space. And anomaly detection, this is the outlier detection. This is the identification of items or events or observations which are not relevant or which do not conform to an expected pattern behavior in comparison with other items in the given survey, which are not at all related to the uh, data set that is being collected. These are the anomaly detection. Now another form of uh, learning is the semi-supervised learning. So what is there in the semi-supervised learning? Here some data are labeled and some data are not labeled, unlabeled. Okay. So when you combine these two, we take the advantage of both labeled data and the unlabeled data. We have got the finished structure as well as we have got the labeling of some data. Means those are the known events or the known data, known input, known response from the input. Okay. This example, it requires skilled expert to level certain remote sensing images and lots of field experiments to locate all at a particular location. This is an example. But here the basic concept is that in the semi-supervised learning, we require or we are having some level data, the combination of level data and unlabeled data. Hmm. Now, the reinforcement learning. Now, what is this reinforcement learning? Here, the supervised learning having a level data, unsupervised learning having on-level data, combination makes them a semi-supervised learning. Now, this reinforcement learning, this actually directly takes inspiration from how human beings learn from data in their lives, in the real life. Now, it features an algorithm that improves upon itself and learn from new situation using a trial and error method. So, this is continuously changing method, means adapting to the situation. The learning is adapting to the situation. Okay. So in this case, the favorable outputs are encouraged or enforced, and non-favorable outcomes are discouraged or thrown out, or these are the punished. Okay. So basically, we are having we send something, and if they are useful, or then those are enforced or those are encouraged. Otherwise, those are discouraged or those are punished. You can see. Now, in case of the program finding the correct solution, what happens? The interpreter enforces the solution by providing a reward to the algorithm. If the outcome is not favorable, the algorithm is forced to reiterate until it finds a better result. Means it is a reiterative one. Reiterative one. And in most cases, the reward system is directly tied to the effectiveness of the result. Yes. This is what a reinforcement learning. Different examples of most commonly used the Markov decision process, Monte Carlo methods, and all those methods. These are the reinforced learning. Now, this one is very important. How we discover the knowledge, a knowledge discovery database. Okay. You can say there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there are 5 steps, the 5 pages here in this case, in 5 steps of the KDD or the knowledge discovery database. You can see it centers around the overall process of knowledge discovery from data that covers the entire life cycle of the data. Okay, and the algorithm are to scale down to this data set efficiently. Right. Now there are different steps. One is first is how to discover the knowledge, discovery databases from the knowledge from the databases. Now we collect the data and we clean the data and get the target data. We pre-process the data, get the transformation, and we develop a pattern or we get a pattern, and from the pattern we generate knowledge or get knowledge. Okay. So what happens in the selection stage? We are having raw data. From the data, then you select some data, and we get the target or the required data. So in the selection stage, selection and integration of the uh, target data from possibly from many different and heterogeneous sources is performed. Different data collection is made. The correct subset of variables and data samples relevant to the analysis task is retrieved from the database. Out of this raw data, the data which is relevant to a particular problem or a particular issue, that those data are then found out, and those are the called the target data. and this target data is subjected to now pre-processing. Okay, pre-processing and cleaning, you can say, you can clean the data. Now, in the cleaning process, what is done that in the real world data sets often the incomplete, they are incomplete, that is their attribute values may be missing some noisy, there may be some errors, there may be some outliers, and this may be inconsistent. So for that we need to clean the data. Okay. So clean the data means we have to remove the errors, we have to remove the outliers. Outliers means we do not possess any required features that we need. Okay. And this is done by some sort of, you can say, uh, data cleaning techniques, all those things. Yeah. And this is done, the action include generally uh, collection of required data and information or information, then outlier treatment or remove the noise, and using the domain knowledge, remove the inconsistencies and duplicates. Yes, duplicacy is another one. Duplicates data from the data, and we choose the, if there are some data missing, we choose for strategies for handling the missing data. This is how after this data is pre-processed, then it becomes a processed data. Okay, then it is transformed. How this transformation? In the transformation step, what is done? The data is transformed or consolidated into forms appropriate for mining. Okay, arbitrarily you cannot do this. That is, handling the useful features to represent the data depending on the goal of the task. Our objective, our goal is defined, and accordingly the features are defined. So this is subjected to some sort of transformation so that data mining algorithm can be applied to this. Okay. So the transformation techniques may be smoothing, that is clustering or regression or aggregation, or this can be generalization in a primitive data object and having higher concept, or we can say the normalization of data, feature construction, data reduction, compression, and all those things. These are the transformation data. The objective is to make it fit to be subjected to data mining. Now, what is the done in the data mining step? In the next step, in the data mining, the machine learning algorithms have applied to extract the patterns. That is the objective of this data mining. Okay, such as the exploration or the that is called summarization methods, such as mean, median, mode, standard deviation, uh, then class or concept description, and also using some graphical techniques or graphical plots, you can understand the data, and accordingly you can generate the pattern. And the predictive models such as classification regression can be used to predict the event for future value. Also, the cluster analysis can be applied to this. Okay. Then after this is some patterns are achieved or obtained, then we interpret or evaluate the data. So this interpretation is this is basically focused on interpreting the mind pattern to make them understandable by the user, such as summarization or visualization. This can be visualized or this can be summarized. After that, the mind pattern or models are interpreted, and these patterns are a local structure that makes statements only about restricted regions of the space, or you can say that that is the space spanned by various variables. Okay. For example, let's say that in the space means y is equal to space if y is equal to mx plus c. If we write, then what you understand that this is a linear model. Okay, and this model can be subjected to any evaluation. And from that, these patterns, and after interpretation and evaluation, we get the general knowledge, or we get the knowledge that is required for the given task or for the given or for our objective. Okay. Next is how to build a machine learning system. This is the framework for building a machine learning system, which involves, just a minute, which involves the business understanding or the understanding the domain, the data understanding, data preparation, modeling, evaluation, and execution or development. Now, in this uh, learning system, this is called the CRISP-DM. You must have heard, Cross-Industry Standard Process for Data Mining, CRISP, CRISP-DM. Now, this framework is idealized sequence of activities like the things I told, that business understanding to deployment. Hmm. What is business understanding? The focus of business understanding is that it is to understand the overall job objective or the project objective and expectation from the business perspective. What to actually we want for the objective. Okay. Now these objectives are then what is done is that they are converted to a data mining or machine learning problem definition and a plan of action around the data that is required data, the business input, and how the outcome performance evaluation metrics are designed in this case. It means this is a, you can say, the understanding of the objective and the required input to the objective. This is there in the business understanding. What is this data understanding? Data understanding, here the actually the initial data are collected that were identified as requirements in the previous page. I told in the business understanding, we identify the data and activities are carried out to understand data gaps in the data or relevance of the data to the objective in hand. And if at all there is any quality issues or the fast insight into the data to bring out appropriate hypothesis. Here, now actually the outcome of this phase will be presented to the business iteratively to bring more clarity into the business understanding and the project objective. Means these are correlated, means you can see the arrows are in the both the directions. So whatever data required and what is the quality of data and what is the relevance of data, these are interchangeable. And after that, with generally with traditional method of preparation of data, we prepare the data. This is related to cleaning up data so that it can be directly used. Means cleaning means removing the errors, removing the outliers, or finding out or taking action for the missing data. All these after we made it, then it can be applied to different models or different techniques. Now, after this data is ready for modeling, there are many modeling techniques in machine learning, and there are many algorithms that we'll discuss subsequently. And the parameters will be tuned on optimal possible values, and the performance of the model for each of the applied model will be recorded. This will be model, and this will be evaluation. Evaluation means with respect to some benchmark. With respect to some benchmark, this will be evaluated, and the results will be verified against the uh, objective or the business understanding that has been divided in the first step or the phase one. Okay, this is about the evaluation and all those things. After that, this is being deployed or this is being rolled out or this is being implemented in real life. Okay, so this is about the CRISP-DM or cross industry standard process for data mining. Like, so this is the framework. Next, we'll see another framework is there, that is called the SEMA. Okay, this is being developed by SAS Institute Okay, and this is learning model is this is learning model, and this is incorporated in SAS Enterprise Miner. What are the sequential steps are? Simple, explore, modify, model, and assess. This is in short, this is known as SEMA. If you compare this with the Scretium again, the objective is defined, data collected, data cleaned, model is built, then that is executed, and feedback is taken, and that is again reiterated process. Here we see the similar kind of thing. We collect the sample. First one is sample. The this is related to the selecting the right subset of the right volume of the data set or the subset of the data set from a larger data set. Okay. And after having this data, the selected subset of data should be actual and a representation of the entire data set originally collected. Not means you should not collect the data arbitrarily or randomly. Rather, this should be having the required features for a given setup or for a given objective. Okay. And some data should be there for the training set. After you collect the data, then you explore. In this phase, what is done, the activities are carried out to understand the data gives a relationship with each other. Okay. Generally, we conduct the univariate analysis and the multivariate analysis. What is the univariate analysis? So, in the univariate analysis, what happens, each variable looks individual to understand its distribution, whereas in multivariate analysis, the relationship between each variable is explored. That is called the univariate and multivariate analysis. Okay, and after that we visualize the data. Or data visualization is heavily used to help understand the data better. This is how we collect the data with the features, or this is subjected to analysis like univariate analysis and multivariate analysis. And that is third is the modify. In this phase, the variables are cleaned where required. This is the modification of the data, and also the variables can be transformed if necessary. And you can say the outcome of this phase is a clean data set that can be passed to the machine learning algorithm to build the model. Now in the model, generally we go for the ML model building, different model. We apply different algorithms and all those things. And in the last phase, the assess. In this phase, we model the performance is evaluated against which data, that is test data, that is not used in training, and to ensure the reliability and also the usefulness of the business, we assess this one. This is assessment. This is a similar way of approach for building a model. So by these two models, you can now say that the most focus is given to the data, collection of data, exploration of data means feature collection, modification of data, and once we get a data set, clean data set, or a perfect data set, I can say, then this can be subjected to various machine learning algorithm, and you can go for our different prediction, or we can fulfill our objective. So this machine learning data, either this can be objects or attributes. Objects such as people, tree, and animals. Attributes such as size, age, weight. This can be data of these types. Okay. So attributes, this can be more collectively known as variables. And either this can be a quantitative data or a qualitative data. Okay. What is a quantitative data? The sales amount, insurance claims, all these are quantitative data, continuous data. And discrete or qualitative data, okay, these are the particular retail store location area, state, city are examples of discrete variables or qualitative data. Then there is different nominal scales of measurement, how we measure the data. There are four scales of measurement, uh, like nominal scale of measurement, where you measure, means I am talking about the data. Okay. How to measure the data? Color is maybe red, green, yellow, like that. Gender, that's a number like this. This is a nominal scale of measurement. Normally, what we see there, and we practice in our real life. Ordinal scale means this gives the rank. This gives a hierarchy like that. So this gives some sort of what you say, not a numerical term, in a qualitative term, we measure like small, medium, large, like that. Okay. Military rank like second lieutenant, first lieutenant, captain, measure like that. And class rank in examination, first, second, third, fourth, like that. These are ordinal scale of measurement. And these are important while to know the features and then apply the machine learning AI ML technique so that we can infer something, we can predict something. Then interval scale, like we mean to make the temperature 10, 20, 30, 40, like that. Accurating in this range whenever there is a range. Or there is an interval in measurement that is called the interval scale. And a ratio scale of this is not ratio scale of measurement. These are the with respect to certain benchmark, weight is 10, 20, now can say because 1 kg is defined, height 1 inch is defined, 1 feet is defined. Okay. So with respect to certain time frame of certain scale will be defined, that is called the ratio scale of measurement. These are the properties of this because we must know this because as you know, as you understand so far, this data, perfect data, will give out or give rise or will yield a perfect solution or a perfect prediction. Okay. So these are a comparison of the scales of measurement. For example, the properties. What are the properties of nominal data? It is identity. For ordinal, it is identity and magnitude. For interval, it is identity magnitude at equal intervals. For ratio, identity magnitude is true and intervals true zero. These are the different uh, properties. Now, what are the mathematical operation? First one is a count operation. Second one is rank. Third one is addition or subtraction. Fourth one is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, everything. Okay. So these are the different scales of measurement. And now, as we are talking about the uh, some cleaning action or data pre-processing, mean removal. This is one action for pre-processing. Remove the mean from each feature so that it can be centered on zero. This is where we need so that actually we can analyze the data or we can make interpretation from the data. From various scales, it is been converted to a simple scale. Because the values of every feature in various data point can vary between random values, so it is important to scale them. Normalization, this involves adjusting the values and they sum up to 1. Level encoding, this refers to changing the word labels into numbers, okay, so that the algorithm can understand. And binaryization, this is used to convert numerical value vector into Boolean vector having 0, 1, like that. These are the, if required, we need this data pre-processing. Okay. Now, we'll see the different techniques. One is called a classification. You must have heard this classification, clustering, all those are machine learning means this is, you must have heard this classification, clustering, and all those things. Okay. So this is a machine learning technique which uses known data to determine how the new data will be classified. Okay. Or whenever some new data comes, that will be classified to which class and that will be taken up by which class, okay, or which category. This is called the classification. Okay. The classifier system performs the following actions such as a new data model is prepared or the learning algorithm is there. You give the new data as an input, okay, and means or this is tested as input means this is tested, and the model, the data model that has been created by ML or machine learning, then place it in a data set or in a class that is available in the given set of data. Okay. So this data model is used to examine the new data and to determine its classes. Once the class is determined, then it is being placed in that particular class. For example, spam email or credit card fraud. Okay. So it is based on some input. If the inputs are inputs falls in any class, automatically either this will be credit card is a fraud or email spam is a fraud, like it will detect like that or it classify like that. Yeah. Another is clustering. Classification is making different class, and when a new data enters into the system, it can analyze with the machine learning algorithm and it can place it in the relevant class. But what is clustering? This assign observation to groups so that observation within groups are similar to each other based on some similarity, not all, some similarity measure. Then their observation or they are placed in a group. They are placed in a group. Okay. Now for this we require a clustering algorithm. Means clustering means you are making a group having similar measures or similar features. Okay. And this finds application in many fields, market research, pattern recognition, data analysis, and image processing, this clustering analysis, or simply the clustering. Now, this requires a suitable clustering algorithms, okay, and that is for a group the elements to a cluster. A rule is required, or a set of rules is required. So, to verify the similarity between the new entrant and the elements in the group, then this is a cyclic process or iterative process. So stopping conditions must be there. Either the number of iterations we can say, or the time we can say any stopping criteria can be provided so that it will stop. Okay. Now we'll see the different machine learning algorithms. The first one, the most common one, is a linear regression. What is a linear regression? It is the relationship between an independent variable and a dependent variable. And this is most classic, you can say, and the easiest method of machine learning algorithm. It is based on statistics, as you know, and this is to make the predictive analysis. And this linear regression makes predictions for either a continuous or a real or numeric variable such as sales, salary, age, product price, etc. Okay. Now this can be, let me see, what is there? No, yeah. This linear regression can be of two types. One is a simple linear regression or a multiple linear regression. What is a simple one? A simple one is that if a single independent variable is used to predict the value of a numerical dependent variable, then such a linear regression algorithm is called a simple linear. Only one, a single independent variable. If more than one independent variable is used to predict the value of numerical dependent variable, then this is called a multiple linear regression. Okay. Now another type of regression that is used in machine learning is a logistic equation. You can see you find a S-curve here. Either this is 0 or 1. Okay. Either this is 0 or 1. So we put a threshold value in this case, and uh, either this is yes or this is no. And this is mostly similar to the linear regression, except that how they are being used. This linear regression is used for solving regression problems, whereas logistic regression is used for solving the classification problem. You have to classify whether this comes under 0 or comes under 1, like that classification problem. Now, logistic regression is this is significant machine learning because it has got ability to provide probabilities and classify the new data using continuous and discrete data sets. And this can be classified further into either a binomial one or a multinomial one or an ordinal one. What is binomial? In the binomial logistic regression, there can be possibly only two possible types of dependent variables, such as 0 or 1, pass or fail, like that. In a multinomial logistic regression, there can be three or more possible recorded types of the dependent variables, such as you can say a cat, a dog, or a sheep, like that. In the ordinal logistic regression, there can be three or more possible ordered types of dependent variables, like you can say three or more means low, medium, high. Okay. So low, medium, high, these are the dependent variable ordered types of dependent variable. These are called the ordered types of dependent variable. So this is another algorithm which is used in the machine learning. This is the linear regression and logistic regression, and these are the Naive Bayes algorithm. This is most useful, and this depends upon the Bayes theorem. Okay, and the Bayes theorem. The Bayes theorem is that you can say see the Bayes theorem that there is we try to find out probability of event A given the event B is true. Event B is also termed as an evidence. Okay. Now, the first case, this is probability of A. Probability of A occurring given evidence B has already happened or already occurred, or you can say probability of A when B has already occurred, and the other one probability of B when A has occurred, and probability of A that is not occurring, that is not occurred, that is occurring, and probability of B, PB, that is probability of B occurring. This is the most useful assumption, a useful theorem in statistics. This is called the Bayesian statistics. The Bayesian statistics, or this uses the Bayes theorem. Okay. What is PA? PA is the priori of A, means the prior probability, that is probability of the event before the evidence is seen. Okay. Means the result of PB is not known. The evidence is an attribute value of an unknown instance. Here the unknown instance is B. PAB means this is a posteriori probability of B, that is probability of event after the evidence is seen, means after the evidence is observed. So you can see this consists of two words, naive and Bayes. It is called naive because it assumes that the occurrence of a certain feature, yes, the occurrence of a certain feature is independent of occurrence of the other feature, as given by the Bayes theorem. Such if the fruit is, if let us say fruit is identified on the basis of color, shape and taste, then red, spherical and sweet fruit is categorized. What we will call it? Red, it will be red, it will be nearly spherical and it tastes sweet. Then you can say this is an apple. Okay. Hence, each feature individually contributes to identifying that it is an apple without depending upon each other. Okay, so Bayes, it is called Bayes because it depends upon the principle of Bayes theorem. Means you can say the example, for the purpose of this example is that this red color, taste and size, they are independent of each other, but when they are combined together, or their probability of occurring independent of each other, when they are combined together, you are able to assess that this is an apple. Okay. So this is use the naive means feature independence as well as the Bayes theorem or the Bayes probability or the Bayes statistics. This is called the naive Bayes. And this can be, there are different types. One can be used the Gaussian naive Bayes, okay, where the uh, characteristic values are continuous in nature, or multinomial naive Bayes. This is favor to use data that is multinomial is distributed, not a binomial distributed, multinomial distributed. And also some Bernoulli's theorem, or this is the Bernoulli's naive Bayes. In this case, uh, Bernoulli's naive Bayes is that the data is dispensed according to the, or this is used according to the multivariate Bernoulli's distribution. This you can follow the Bernoulli's distribution. Okay. So there are different class of this one. So when we will discuss any of this method, when this application of this method, you will know how these theories can be used. But these are the fundamental theories of different machine learning algorithms. Next is a decision tree. Okay, decision tree is mostly known to you. So this is consisting of different root node. Okay, then you split it to get the decision node, and after splitting these, you get the terminal node like that. Okay. So what is a root node? It actually starts from the root node. Any decision tree starts from the root node. It represents the entire population or sample, and further gets divided into two or more homogeneous sets. Two or more homogeneous sets. Okay. Then this decision set again, that is, let us say, if we say terminal node of the decision, if the root node is the set of all people having some age group like that. If you say, is the age more than 50? If this is yes, okay, the yes, then that will terminate. If this is more, this will go to another route like that, right? So when a decision node ends and there is no, it relates to no inference, and then that becomes a terminal node. Okay. So in the terminal nodes that do not split, the further you cannot split that one, that terminates there. Okay. And possibly you can have a branch or a subtree. A subsection of this entire tree is called a branch or a subtree. Not always subsection, you can call it a branch or subtree. Means from root node, if you consider on the right side, that becomes a subsection. If you consider the left side, that becomes another branch or another subsection. Okay. Now this is by this how these are being used the decision tree, that will be seen later. Okay. Another algorithm is the KNN algorithm, or the K nearest uh, neighborhood algorithm. What is this algorithm? This algorithm assumes that the similar things exist in close proximity. In other words, similar things are near to each other and they are being clustered together. Mm. So in this case, the basic concept is that you can see this figure, that the similar items are clustered together, because, and how they are clustered, because by looking at their similarity, and sometimes it is called distance, proximity, or closeness, again with some mathematical background or the mathematical algorithm or the statistical algorithm. You can place them in similar groups. Okay, this is the k nearest neighborhood, right? K nearest neighbors. Then we'll see this, the process of k nearest neighbor. What is done? The data is loaded. Initially, k means number. How many neighbors is required? Means how many similar numbers. Okay. For each example in the data, calculate the distance. Add the distance to the index of the example to order collection. Sort this one and pick the first k elements from the sorted collection. Get the labels of the selected k entries and make them classification like that. Okay. Now, if I will say, if you see the left hand corner, in that case there are two green cross marks. For this, if I will say k is equal to 1, means it will identify the other one. And if I will say k is equal to 2, because you do not have two neighbors, then this will be discarded and all other the round red points will be put there. So you can adjust the k so that you cannot or you cannot end up or you do not end with any random solution. So selection of k or the numbers that is to be chosen is very important in k nearest neighbors. You have to choose the uh, neighbors from the all other data set that is available. Right. And there are various techniques for selection, or you can iteratively, randomly, you can k is equal to 1, k is equal to 2, k is equal to 3. Like and you can see how the things are changing, how the classification is changing. Right. Then the support vector machines. It depends. These are there. These support vectors are. This can classify the two sets by a vector or by a line or by a hyperplane. What is a hyperplane? This is a boundary and this is a decision boundary. For example, you can see in the left hand side there are green dots and on the right hand side there are blue squares. Okay, and there is a vector means the support by the positive hyperplane or the positive line that separates the one set of data from the other. Similarly, in the left hand side you can see the negative hyperplane that separate the other set of data. And in between, if you place a vector, and the basic concept here is that this optimize the line so that the closest point in these groups will be the farthest away from each other. Okay, here that this line is the closest point. The other way, the positive hyperplane that is closer to another point. Yeah. And in between, we are having the maximum margin, and that is the maximum margin hyperplane. Okay, and when we write this one, this is this put into classes so that we can put the new data correctly. Suppose you get a new data and you will find out the distance from the hyperplane and whichever is suitable, it will be placed in that particular class of data. Okay. So this is the support vector machine. These are the different types. This is a linear support vector machine. There is a non-linear one. You can see how these are being classified. And there is in the third one that is uh, not separable, or that is called the inseparable. It is very difficult to classify the data set. The data set is so random. Okay. In such cases, it may be subjected to some other process. Then only you can apply the support vector machine to classify the data set. Okay. And there is one random forest. What is a random forest? Uh, the random forest is like implies consists of large number of individual decision trees. Okay. And so to now see to any particular problem or particular issue or particular objective, you find out different trees or different decision trees. Like, and let us say for a particular now we have chosen 1, 2, 3, 3, 9. There are 9 decision trees. Out of C, in one decision tree you got a result of 1. And the other decision says no, 0. Another decision tree again say yes, means 1. Like that, if you summarize the total predictions, there are 6 predictions containing 1 and 3 predictions containing 0. Okay. So here what we have to do is that we have to take which one is the largest one. Which one is the largest one? I mean larger amount of the population, they are predicting or they are voting for yes. And lower amount of trees or let us say system is decision trees are predicting zeros. Right. So this is based on the voting pattern, how this individual tree votes. The first tree that votes or predicts 1, second one is predicts 0, means it votes 0, means it do not belong to, it says, first one says no, it belongs to this class, second one says no, it doesn't belong to this class, third one says no, it belongs to that class, the same class. So here total number of years are known, and then only they are being classified. Okay. So this random forest, like its name implies, consists of a large number of individual decision trees known as forest. Okay, that operate as an ensemble. Ensemble means this enriches, means start from a crude or a thumb rule, then this is enriched or ensembled to get a concrete decision. That is ensemble algorithms. Okay. So this is based on voting. In the earlier case, what was the? It was based on distance. How far is the particular data is, so that it can be classed to any of these, like their that is the support vector machine. The distance of measure here voting is the measure. Similarly, we'll see this is the algorithm. Start with the selection of random samples. Algorithm comes with decision tree for each sample. Then it will get the prediction result. Then voting will be performed, and at last the selection the most voted prediction result as the final predicted result. Okay. Next is the principal component analysis. So whatever we have discussed, these are all typical mathematical or statistical uh, concepts or methods, and these are being used to learn a pattern, either to classify or to cluster. What happens in the principal component analysis? Okay, in case there is existence of large number of features or dimensions, okay, and this makes the computation analysis very intensive. It is hard to perform machine learning. Okay, so in that case, what happens the PCA means there are different attributes. Let us say here two attributes are shown. There may be 5 features or 10 features like that, and combining those features together are very difficult. So in this case, we can find out the principal components. Means gradually we reduce the number of components and we infer something. So how this is done? This is we standardize the data, that is we now study the features and standardize the data. Now here two techniques are the covariance is used and eigenvalues are used. Okay. So on this data, standardized data, uh, the covariance matrices and correlation matrices are generated, and then the next step what is done, that the eigen decomposition, that is in the computation of eigenvectors, that are the principal component which will give direction, and compute eigenvalues which will give the magnitude. Okay, first the variance and correlations calculated, then eigenvalues and eigenvectors are calculated to get the direction and magnitude, and then sorting is done, setting up the eigen pairs and select the eigenvectors with the largest eigenvalues that cumulatively capture information above a certain threshold value. All those are taken as the principal component. Okay, this involves the concept of covariance, correlation matrix, and then computation of eigenvectors and eigenvalues, and find out or reduce the data sets, or reduce that this is a dimensional, reduce the dimension, not the feature, you reduce the dimension in this case. So a multidimensional issue or multidimensional problem is reduced by implementation of this principal component analysis. Okay, let me see the next. And some other are like boosting algorithms. What are the boosting algorithms? That boost means you can say moral boost. We say somebody the moral boosting means you are enriching, or the term boosting refers to a family of algorithms that converts weak learner to a strong learner. Okay. For example, if you say what is a spam, uh, if you define that email has only one image file, it is a spam. Image only links, it is a spam. Means definition of a spam. Okay, these are the definitions of a spam. Let us say we define this one. Now, if say these are called the weak learners, or these are the rules of the weak learners. Now, if a new email comes, so then how we can say that this is not a spam? Okay. So we have defined several rules to classify an email into spam or not spam. These rules, however, individually are not strong enough, but we combine them that can be strong or we can classify, or the individual rule is not classified, is not strong enough. Okay. So what we do to convert this weak learner to a strong learner, we combine this prediction of each weak learner into a method like either we take the average or the weighted average, or we combine this, or we consider prediction that has a higher vote. Suppose the email comes and all these rules they vote yes, 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 then this becomes a spam. If they vote that this is no, 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 that is not a spam. Okay. So, for example, we have 7 weak learners. Out of 7, 5 voted as spam and 2 voted as not as spam. In this case, by default, we will consider the email as a spam because we have higher vote for spam. Okay. So, this is some boosting algorithm, and this is the various steps in the boosting algorithm. In the first step, the learner takes all the distribution and assign equal weights to each one. If there is any prediction error caused by first base learning algorithm, then we pay higher weight to observations having prediction error. We apply the next best learning algorithm, and this is a reiterative process. This is gone iteration so that the weak learners they become strong learners. Okay. Also, there are some statistical mathematical background behind this, but this is the basic concept of boosting algorithm. Okay. And finally, this you can say the machine learning applications. These are the various applications of machine learning like image recognition, speed recognition, traffic prediction, stock market. These are not exhaustive. There are more things beyond this. And also in many manufacturing scenario, production scenario, this can be applied. But these are the common application of machine learning. So what we've studied the basic concepts of machine learning and AI, the different algorithms and the applications of this machine learning. And from this, we will carry forward details in each individual application area of this machine learning, but these are being applied to different situations, and we'll hear it from the different speakers. Okay. With this, I thank all of you for your patient hearing, your patient listening. Thank you. And if you need to ask something, you can ask. Okay. Okay, then. Thank you all. Okay. And I hope the schedule there is. Uh, I need to. I'm just giving it to my co-coordinator.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this informative session. There are few queries in the chat box. The PPT, okay, the PPT, it will be shared at the end of the FDP. And for the next session at 3 p.m. today, we have with us Mr. Vikram Kishore Murthy from Capgemini India Private Limited, Bangalore. So